You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today. I'm Kirk Mona, and joining me are Rachel Gimza and Victoria Thompson. We're all naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders, just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Well, I get to welcome everyone to the show. I was so excited. I get to start us off this week, and I'm really excited about my topic, and it's super nerdy.
Excellent.
So I'm really happy to have both of you here to join me on this, what I think is a really nerdy topic, and it's a pretty naturalisty type topic. So to get us started, I'd like to share a quote from Robin Wall Kimmerer. All right. It will make sense, this topic, because I'm currently reading the book that this quote comes from.
Okay.
And she says, focus on the lens on the wallpaper itself, and the green blur of the background resolves itself into a sharp focus, and an entirely new dimension appears. The wallpaper, which seemed at first glance to be of uniform weave, is in fact a complex tapestry, a brocaded surface of intricate pattern. I took a couple words out because it would spoil a little bit.
Okay.
But this comes from her book.
Little obfuscation going on.
A little bit. This comes from her book, Gathering Moss, which was actually her first book before Braiding Sweetgrass. And today, I wanted to talk about moss.
Nice.
All right. Yeah.
Somehow, we have not talked about moss once, so let's talk about it.
That's astounding. Okay.
Right?
Very cool.
Right?
Moss is amazing.
It really is. So we all hopefully have a mental idea of what a moss looks like. When you think of moss, hopefully our brains are like, oh yeah, that thing, that's moss.
Short.
Short, small,
Green.
on the ground. A lot of people actually mistake it for lichen or liverworts or other things. But we're going to go through and give a base understanding on what moss is, okay? Now, there's no way that I can cover the entirety of moss in just like the 5-10 minutes that I have here. So we're going to go through the basics.
Okay.
Yeah. Just give us the strange bits.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's one particular thing that I wanted to talk about, which is why I brought this up in the first place. Gathering moss was a starting point, and then I found out something really cool that actually just happened. We'll get to it. So moss is actually a whole division of plants, which is like a whole section within a clade in the Bryophyta clade, okay? Which in this in classification terms is like one thing right underneath the kingdom of Plantae. So we have kingdom, we talked about this before. This is like a clade. It's like a mixture between, it's a division within the division within right underneath the kingdom. It gets real complicated really fast. It depends
that totally cleared it up for everyone. Thanks.
Didn't it? Okay. So pretty much it's right under kingdom, okay? So it's a huge
before phylum.
Group. Before phylum, but after kingdom. So it's huge, okay?
Very large, yeah.
This is the same group that has liverworts and hornworts, which are different categories that we can talk about in a different episode because they're also bizarre. Bare basic bones. Mosses are defined by having simple leaves that are mostly one cell thick. So tiny. They are attached to a stem. That's it. That's moss.
Okay.
That's a moss.
Tiny.
A stem.
Not necessarily tiny in length, but like thin. What was your description?
Yeah.
Thin leaves attached to a stem.
Yes.
So
that's it.
That seems pretty broad.
I don't want to like spoil your episode here, Rachel, but the thing I remember about mosses is they're non-vascular, right?
Yes. So like I said, that's it. They don't have roots. They don't have a vascular system. You're right. And
That's
they don't
plant veins for
pretty much
the
people who don't know.
non-sciencey people.
Yeah, the little lines you see through the leaves, and
It's what brings nutrients and water, especially from one part of the plant to another. Mosses came before that existed.
that's so bizarre when you stop
Yeah.
think about that. It's like
Yeah, they
you are looking at something ancient when you see a moss.
Mosses are one of the first land plants, like group of plants that
Sure,
came on
yeah.
land. So keeping that in mind, I'm like being thrown back to my plant ecology classes back in
Well,
college.
it's interesting if they're some of the first land plants. There were plants in the water before that. They just so happen to be plants that need a lot of water. They only grow
Yeah.
in very moist places, so it kind of makes
Exactly.
sense.
Exactly. So they don't have a vascular system. They don't produce seeds. They don't produce flowers. They just produce spores. And the stem itself, sometimes it'll branch and you could have multiple leaves, or you might have just one, depending on the species of moss. It depends. Overall, like Kirk, what you were saying, they like being in a shady or damp location. They're pretty good about growing on rocks, which is a wild place to grow.
Yeah.
Mosses are super duper cool, and they often get mistaken for lichen, which we talked about in one of the first episodes of the show. They are able to pretty much come back from dust. So if they get so dehydrated that they're pretty much just dust, and then you give them a little bit of water, they can come back within minutes, which is wild.
That's
That's one of the propagation techniques. Because one of the things my hobbies I do is bonsai, and often you want to grow like moss on the soil of the plants. And one thing you can do is take old moss and literally put it into like a coffee grinder and just turn it into to dust, and then spread that dust all over the soil, and boom, it grows a thick bed of moss.
Wow. So does it just like
It's so wild.
It's just like cell dividing and
Pretty much, yeah.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it
crazy.
obviously depends too. So they've been out of the ocean for 470 million years.
Okay,
So
that's a while.
it 1 or 2 years,
And yet a lot of them still love water. Isn't that nice?
It is. So that isn't the cool thing I wanted to talk about though today. And we'll definitely get back to moss because there's around 10,000 species of moss out there. Most of them don't have common names because as Gathering Moss, I'm reading through that book right now. Robin talks about the fact that most people don't even notice, and the quote I talked about is the wallpaper of the forest is moss, and you look even closer and it's an amazing, like there's more than one species in that little like forest of it pretty much echoes the forest itself. So moss is really amazing and needs more credit. Anyway, so researchers at the University of California, Riverside were checking out the moss that happens to grow, you'll never guess where, actually. So you mentioned that they like damp and shady places.
Yeah.
Well, moss also really loves, apparently, the soil in the California desert. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So, which is a wild place to find moss. There's something called the...
I mean, you find moss in parking lots on asphalt. So
Exactly.
It can
So
grow lots of spots.
It goes wherever it wants. So there's something called a biocrust that happens in the soils in what they're called dry lands, is what they call them, dry lands. So some researchers were checking out the biocrust, and the working model that they had was that everyone has when it comes to moss is a singular living thing. It doesn't depend on anything else. There's no partnerships that it works with. It's not like lichen or anything like that. It's just moss. That's it. Well, some scientists at the University of California, Riverside, were like, well, we should double check that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Assumptions are dangerous.
If it's been around for more than 400 million years, maybe it's developed a few relationships along the way.
Oh, yeah. Good thing they did, because they looked in the soil crusts in the Mojave and Sonoran deserts, and they were trying to generally use the same species between deserts. They couldn't always find the same species, but they were looking and trying to find out if there was any fungal relationships happening. So what they did was they ground up the moss that they were collecting, the species, and they looked for fungal DNA, and they found it. They found fungal DNA within that. Now, the biocrust obviously it's a huge, not obviously, maybe, it is its own little habitat of creatures, and there's like tardigrades and a bunch of other things that live within that crust. So it could very well be like, yeah, you collected this moss, but maybe it was contaminated with fungus or anything like that. So they decided to double check, which is a great way to go. They used microscopy, and they inserted a blue dye that only would stick to fungal tissues. Right?
Oh, cool.
Which is pretty common. And they were able to find within the moss itself, within the samples they had, branching structures of mycorrhizal fungi.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Okay. Which is not something that we've known or found before with moss, because we always thought it was like this loner. It didn't need any fungus.
Fungi are everywhere.
Everywhere. And it's actually brought some attention and thought of maybe this is one of the things that allowed moss to come onto land in the first place.
Ooh, wow.
Because if they're able to use fungus to move things through their system or move it to, or anchor them or any of those things, that could be hugely helpful.
If you have no vascular system, that would be very helpful.
Yep.
Exactly.
And like, how do they stick to rocks anyway, right?
Exactly. Like they're super good at sticking to rocks. It's kind of wild. Especially since like the way that they stick to rocks and slowly erode the rock back into soil, into smaller like sand. Okay. Wild thing to do. But so this research needs to be confirmed and replicated. It's super duper cool. It's super recent also. This was published in May of 2026 in New Phytology, which is an open access journal, which we love. It's pretty much breaking news, so it needs to be replicated. But it's really cool, and it's turned the moss world on its head, that they've been able to find the relationship of mycorrhizal fungus within moss, that lives in the desert.
That is so cool.
We
know that there are those mycorrhizal relationships with trees and with much more complicated plants, but if we find it in moss, that would suggest that relationship is ancient.
Is so old. And either it's like a convergent evolution thing where it happened multiple times, or it's been happening from the beginning and has just stretched all the way back.
That'd be my guess, but yeah, that's cool.
It is really cool. So my sources this week were the University of California Riverside News, the paper itself, which is novel. Okay. I practiced this. Okay. Novel glomeromycotina moss associations identified in California dryland biocrusts by Kian H. Kelly et al. Wikipedia for some basics on moss, and Discover Wildlife, which also talked about this paper. So that is what I have for you all this week.
Very fun.
Moss. Hanging out with fungus.
That is strange. Thanks.
Wild. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, it'll be Victoria.
All right, we're back. Kirk, Rachel, I want you to list me some animals that are kind of known for being slow.
Sloth.
A slow loris.
Ooh, that's really good. Okay, a turtle,
a snail,
which I disagree with.
Snails,
a slug.
Turtles. Yep, slugs.
Yeah, worms.
Worms are pretty slow.
A very, very famous one.
Tortoise.
Tortoise, yes.
Tortoise.
All right.
I think
one.
I said turtle, but tortoise is very different. Let's see. What are some other slow things?
I feel like you hit like the
We hit
major highlights.
we hit
I
the
was
major
listening
ones,
to.
yeah.
That's
A
the
whale.
whole segment. Just 10 minutes of us talking about slow animals we can think of.
A whale. They're not
A whale.
always very fast. They can be fast, I guess.
I don't think I could outswim a whale.
Nope.
No, I think
I
it
mean,
depends on the
relative to
whale.
their length, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway, today I am going to talk about snails and slugs.
Yay!
Some specific snail and slug species that behave in a surprising way for such normally slow creatures.
Okay.
Okay.
So first I'm going to be talking about a small snail called Ovoclamus fulgens, which is originally believed to come from the Ryukyu chain of islands that stretches to the southeast of mainland Japan.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is a tiny little snail. The shell is only about 6 millimeters across. Unfortunately,
Oh, that is tiny.
teeny weeny,
Yeah.
I think is the technical term.
Teeny
That is the
tiny.
scientific term, teeny weeny. Itsy bitsy teeny weeny.
Yes. Unfortunately, it is an agricultural pest. It feeds, it feeds on the leaves of orchids, and hiding away on orchids is most likely the way that it made its way around the world to places like Florida and South America, where it's an invasive species.
Yeah, that tracks.
Unfortunately, it also likes to eat a wide variety of plants, including avocado, mango, and banana plants. As well as several important ornamental species.
That's a tough list.
Also, callback, it can carry the nematode parasite Angiostrongylus cantonensis, which is also known as the rat lungworm, which I believe Kirk, you talked about that one.
No.
Yeah, horrible.
No. Gross.
They are really great at reproduction. They only have a lifespan of about 9 months, but they can lay eggs 42 days after they hatch. And
that's so fast.
They're not only hermaphrodites like all snails, but they're self-fertilizing hermaphrodites.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Means they don't even need a mate in order to lay viable eggs. So
I feel like that could still be a problem in the long run.
I mean, they can mate, I believe, but
yeah,
they can also not mate.
You can keep the generations going while you're waiting for a mate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So that, along with being so tiny that they're very hard to detect, you can see how these snails would kind of become a pest problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you noticed, I haven't mentioned the common name of this snail yet.
No, you have not.
It
is it
called
the orchid snail?
No, it's called the jumping snail.
Oh, no.
Yes.
I don't like that at all.
No, I don't. What do you mean it can jump?
I mean,
they can jump.
Sounds pretty awesome. They can jump.
That's really
oh my
cool.
Gosh.
Why can they jump?
Tell us more.
How do they
They're
jump?
very talented. So they have a structure at the end of the tail that's present in many snail and slug species. It's called the caudal and mucus horn or caudal and mucus pit. Caudal just means having to do with the tail.
Yeah.
Right.
But a mucus horn is one of the worst phrases ever uttered on this
I
podcast.
do. We've had some pretty bad phrases muttered, but that's pretty.
Yeah.
That's up there.
I mean, its main function is to reabsorb mucus when the snail's moving along, so it doesn't lose all that moisture, from its slime trail. But in the jumping snail, the caudal horn is especially adapted to work as a kind of catapult. So if the snail feels threatened, it uses the point of its tail to launch itself into the air. And
I'm trying to picture how it does that. Does it sneak it underneath itself and then just fling it?
Okay, so if you're picturing a controlled leap, not really that.
Got it.
It's if you look at videos of this online, it's more of a squirming, squiggling, sort of writhing jump.
Okay.
But it would, startle the heck out of me if I were a predator thinking I had a nice, slow, easy snail snack.
And you might lose track of it if it
Yep.
squiggles its way off a plant or something, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it would shock me, and I'm not looking to eat it.
Right? Well, and the jumping snail, it turns out, is not the only snail that can jump.
What?
Yeah. There are several species of conch that can jump.
What?
Yeah.
I repeat.
Maybe.
What?
That's
Those are generally larger.
And in fact, it's like the common form of locomotion, at least for some species of conch.
really
Yes.
like in the water.
In the water. I mean, you could see how it would be a little easier to jump in the
Easier,
water
yeah.
because you don't have as much. I mean, the gravity is the same, obviously, but you have the water supporting
The
you.
buoyancy
to
is
give
different, yeah.
buoyancy.
Right.
So I was unable to find out if all species of conch do this or just a few, but they actually anchor the tip of their tail in the ocean floor and launch themselves up like a pole vaulter, which results in they have this kind of hopping locomotion.
Okay, amazing.
Sure. Why
Did not know this.
No one expects you to think it. No one expects the jumping snails.
Right? No one expects the jumping snails. It's thought that they do this to interrupt their slime trail, which may throw predators off their scent if they're being tracked.
Very cool.
Possibly.
Very cool.
Huh.
It's like the whole backtracking in the snow.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not really, but
Yeah.
Not at
that
all.
doesn't work very well.
Sort of like crossing a river to hide your
there
scent
you go.
from
That was a much better
bloodhounds.
Oh yeah.
much better simile.
And finally, the last jumping snail I'm going to talk about is not a snail, it's a slug. And I don't know about you, but somehow this was sort of even more surprising to me. I think maybe because of the name, like slugs, sluggish, you just like expect them to be.
Yeah,
They're slow. You're not expecting them to jump ever. I feel like it would be easier because they don't have the shell, but at the same time.
Yeah.
They're slugs.
Well, there's about 7 species of jumping slug. They all live in the Pacific Northwest of North America.
Interesting.
They're in the genus Hemphilia. Some live in coastal areas like Washington and Oregon, and some live in the inland part over the mountains from British Columbia to Idaho and Montana. They actually all look really similar, but they are kind of unusual slugs. Besides the jumping thing.
Besides the jumping, got it.
They can be distinguished from other slugs because they have a sort of backpack-looking thing on their body,
Okay.
which is actually a vestigial shell.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, it covers a hump that contains a lot of their internal organs. Slugs actually evolved from snails rather than the other way around, so think about it makes sense if they sort of lost their shell over time. Some species of slugs still have a little bit of shell left.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so these
They're like
slugs,
a transition species almost.
Yeah.
It gives them a nice little crunch.
Don't eat snails, folks. I mean, properly cooked in a French restaurant, it's okay, but
Probably fine.
snails carry a lot of parasites.
Cool.
These slugs jump similarly to the jumping snails I talked about first. So it's more of like a squirming kind of flailing around rather than an organized hop like the conchs. But again, it's thought that they're doing that to startle or escape predators. Yeah. Jumping snails and slugs. I just thought it was weird. Yeah, so that's what I have this week.
Very cool.
That's bizarre. Just, sure, why not? They can jump. Why not?
Yeah. My sources this week were Wikipedia, the University of the West Indies had some helpful information about the jumping snail, the Shedd Aquarium got some good information about hopping conchs, and there's a Nature Conservancy blog that had information about the jumping slugs. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, it'll be Kirk.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Just to get this off right off the bat here, I want to be clear. My topic isn't uplifting this week, but the story is.
Okay.
So to get it right on the table, the topic is cancer.
Oh.
Not that, which is not, uplifting.
Yay.
But the story I had to tell about it is. So when we think about cancer, one of the mistakes people often make is thinking about it as like a monolithic thing. I think some people still have the impression that cancer is like a specific thing and that it can show up in different places, but it's all kind of the same. There are some obviously common threads, but it comes when it comes to different kinds of cancer, each one is probably best thought of as a unique disease. There are over 200 known types of cancers that can affect humans, and we have actually made incredible strides in solving how to fight some of them, while others we're still working on cures. And sort of, I think about in the popular vernacular, people may talk about like the cure for cancer, and why don't we have a cure for cancer yet? But with over 200 different types, we may actually need 200 different solutions or 200 different cures.
Or more than that even, because there's individual genetic variations.
Exactly, yeah. So we aren't looking for a cure for cancer. We're looking for, and have found, cures for cancers, plural. Now, one of the most fascinating places we can look for a cure is in nature. And there are some really fascinating examples of different plants that have been found that have anti-cancer properties, and I'm sure we will likely cover some of them at some point on this show. But today I want to focus on animals. If we're looking to the animal world, it would seem to make sense to seek out the oldest, longest living animals we can find. Cancer is usually fundamentally often an affliction of aging. As our cells get old, they can turn on us and start to multiply out of control. That's essentially what cancer is. It's our own cells growing at a frightening rate. In simple terms, the older the cell, the more likely it can turn bad and become cancerous. So yeah, for many types of cancers, it makes sense to look at animals that live hundreds of years to find out what their secret is. How are they not succumbing to cancer? A Greenland shark, we think, can live for 400 years. And if we want to get really extreme, those are just mere babies. The record holders in the animal kingdom are glass sponges in the ocean, which we think can possibly live 10 to 15,000 years.
Shut the front door.
What? Right? Like, now they're much simpler bodies, but like that's astounding. Now, scientists are looking at those long-lived animals, but turns out they're also looking at some short-lived ones as well. And a story comes to us this week from Japan, where scientists are studying the Japanese tree frog, oh boy, I didn't practice this one, Dryophytes japonicus. And it seems like a pretty unassuming species to study for cancer research. They're just a small tree frog that only live around 6 years, which isn't so long that cancer is, it's probably not going to be an issue for them.
But
not something they would concern themselves with.
Yeah. 6 years is like,
not
maybe, but not a ton, yeah.
Yeah, well, these particular tree frogs have been making headlines this last month, but I also want to point out that these researchers were not just looking at tree frogs. They also studied Japanese fire-bellied newts, which is Cynops pyrogaster, and Japanese grass lizards, tachydromoids. Fabulous scientific names there.
I love it.
And what these researchers from the Japan Advanced Institute of Science and Technology were looking for was bacteria. They had a hunch that gut bacteria might be helpful in fighting off cancers. And by studying these 3 species, they were able to isolate and identify 45 different bacterial strains found in their guts, which doesn't seem too terribly surprising. There's lots of different bacteria and things that just naturally live in our gut biome.
Sure.
But when looking at those, they kind of figured out that about 9 of them might theoretically be candidates to study for cancer research after screening them for what they considered anti-cancer properties. And eventually, kind of once they narrowed down to those 9, we'll call it a winner emerged. And it came from the gut of the Japanese tree frog. And it's called Ewingella americana. Now, they tested this bacteria by introducing it to a mouse model of colorectal cancer to see what would happen. And the results were pretty shocking. Just one single intravenous dose of the bacterium had a 100% success rate in completely eliminating the cancer.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Yeah.
That's like unheard of.
Yeah. They tested this against like traditional, some of the traditional treatments that we're using currently, existing therapies. And this beat the socks off all of our current therapies that we already have. So this sounds pretty incredible. So how does this work? How does injecting a bacteria, in this case, was just into the
their gut.
I believe the bloodstream of this mouse. Was first of all, it went through their system very quickly. Within 24 hours, you could not even detect it, like just free floating around in the mouse. And something you need to know about this. It's really simple and elegant. This particular bacteria loves to live in anaerobic environments. And anaerobic means lacking oxygen. Most of the healthy cells in your digestive tract would be very oxygen rich. Cancer cells, on the other hand, tend to be anaerobic. So the bacteria feels right at home in these cells. Cancer cells also produce a protein called CD47 that suppresses local immune activity. Now that's good for the cancer as it lets it hide from your immune system. But it also means that cancer cells are easier to infect as the immune system isn't active in them or around them, right?
Right.
And another interesting thing is that cancer cells are also, they're essentially leaky, or at least the blood vessels that feed them are kind of leaky and kind of janky, which once again makes them prone to infection. So the bacteria can very easily get in, and they sort of look around and they're like, hey, this is really the only good place to set up shop. So boom, they go right into the cancer cells. So the result of all of this is that the bacteria sets up shop inside the cancer cells, and it then rapidly multiplies. In this particular study, the bacterial population increased roughly 3,000-fold within 24 hours after treatment started.
Whoa.
So pretty good. This rapid increase, which is essentially just a bacterial infection, actually greatly damaged the cancer cells. And this is where the second method of action comes into play. Once there's an infection in the cells, it actually helps your immune system then identify those cells as infected.
It's like a biomarker.
And seek out and destroy them. So this bacteria is actually doing double duty. It not only destroys the cells, it makes infected cancer cells easier for your body to identify, so your body can naturally destroy them. Yeah. So the other good news from this initial study is that no other healthy organs or cells were infected by the bacteria. It seemed to really only infect the damaged cancer cells, which is pretty incredible.
That's phenomenal.
A word of caution. This is all really cool, and the press releases and articles are glowing, but we've had many false leads before when it comes to cancer cures. I think there's sort of this old joke that like bleach or even a shoe will kill cancer cells in a petri dish, proving it in humans is a whole other thing together. So it could actually be a long time before we see results of something like this, being tried out in humans. But it definitely shows promise. There are a number of researchers looking at using bacterias in this way, and this just happens to be one they found that has been so far very successful. And I just think it's so kind of bizarre that we think of bacteria as something that usually is something that causes diseases, right? So using something that causes disease to rid our bodies of cancer seems absolutely bizarre.
Are you going to get sick further by the bacteria?
Well, that's what we need to make sure won't happen, right? And the fact that it's a bacteria that thrives in anaerobic environments, we don't have a lot of anaerobic environments in our body, so it goes after those cancer cells, which very cool. I think perhaps someday we'll be thanking Japanese tree frogs and their gut bacteria for helping us cross more types of cancers off our lists. They do want to do more research, like injecting this directly into cancers, trying it for different types of cancers, not just, colorectal cancers. So pretty interesting, pretty fascinating. And I guess maybe someday we will be hearing more about this. So my sources for this was actually a story in Science Daily that put me onto this. And then some background information from Wikipedia.
Awesome. Thanks, Kirk.
You're welcome. Yeah. That is our show for the week.
That is our show.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks, everyone, for listening.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach us by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can check out our website, strangebynaturepodcast.com, and you can support the show and get ad-free episodes at patreon.com/strangebynature. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.